Welcome to Lesbian Love. This is your girl V, and I'm excited today because I have a lovely couple here who have been together for 20 years. 20 whole years, 2 long decades. So I want to introduce Teresa and Cheryl.
Hi.
Thank you both for spending time with me here today.
You're welcome.
So I always like to start with a little icebreaker. When I say the word love, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
I'm gonna say happiness.
I'll say joy.
Both are very, very important. Thank you. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Teresa.
Let's see. I was in the United States Army for about 10 years where I worked as a healthcare specialist. I love traveling. I love people. I have just a very giving heart. And I've always been a hard worker.
And Cheryl?
I'm originally from Oklahoma, Boomer Sooners.
Okay.
However, I've been in North Carolina a little over 20 years. A mom, an educator, music lover, and I love to watch HGTV.
Okay.
Yes, she does.
I like that. Some do-it-yourself projects.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when did you each feel an attraction toward the same sex?
I was probably about 17 years old when I first started feeling some gay tendencies. But during that time, society was not very receptive to women being together, so it kind of just went away. However, but I still had that feeling, and I didn't really act on it until I was probably in my mid-20s. I think began my first gay relationship when I was probably 25.
And Cheryl?
For me, I believe I noticed something when I was in elementary school.
Still young.
Can't really say that I could put my finger on it or actually knew what it was. But when I did discover what it was, I was in college. And so I had my first relationship in college.
Okay. And when the two of you meet, how did you meet?
Well,
we met at a club. As a matter of fact, the club was in Fayetteville, a little club called the Spectrum. And I just happened to be standing at the bar getting ready to get a Coke, and sure had a friend. Actually, she had gone to the club to meet with this friend, and so she sent this friend over to offer to buy me a drink.
A wingman. Yeah, you always gotta have a good wingman. Like, go in there, get her for me.
and then the friend came back and said, she don't drink. I said, what? Who don't drink?
Right.
But anyhow, she bought her a Coke, and she came to thank me for the Coke. And I guess, as they say, the rest is history.
20 years later.
Absolutely, 20 years later, here
20
we are.
years later. If Teresa could tell it, she would say, I've been in her face every day since that night.
Right.
She has.
So, when did you know she was the one?
Oh, I probably knew she was the one probably day 2.
Wow.
But,
Yeah.
Wow.
Teresa is someone that is not like anyone else I've ever dated, male or female. And one of the things that I love about her now and I loved about her then was that she was so thoughtful and considerate all of the time.
Wow.
I'm a coffee drinker, and she didn't have a coffee pot at her apartment. And I remember after maybe the 5th or 6th time coming to her house, she had bought a coffee pot, because she knew I like coffee, but she didn't drink coffee at the time.
Right.
So, and then how she just cared for me, and I had not ever been used to that, ever. For me, that's when I knew she was the one.
And Teresa, when did you know that Cheryl was the one?
She came over every day.
I was not gonna leave you alone.
She's the one who is not leaving.
She was there every day. And and I love that about her though, because I've always been pretty much a loner. I like spending time by myself. And so just having her there every day, it made such a big impact in my life, because I was always wanting to do things with her. Well, she'd come over, let's go out and do this, let's go out and do that. Whereas before, I didn't do much of that.
Wow. So it definitely changed your life.
Absolutely.
What's the hardest part of being married?
The compromise, that learning to give and take, doing things even when you don't want to do them, to let your partner, your wife, your husband, your spouse, whatever you want to call it, know that because this is important to you, it's important to me because I love you that much. And so, it's not ever always a bed of roses. I don't care what the TV makes.
Absolutely not.
It's not.
No,
it's ever evolving. Even after the 20 years, it's
work.
It's work. It's always something you're learning new. Always something that you can do different. Always something that you can do better. I think that's the hardest part in terms of being married, because you want to feel like you can just relax and I've done everything I'm supposed to do and I'm done, but it's not like that.
No. And I can respect that, because you're constantly working, constantly compromising, constantly growing together. Otherwise you will grow apart.
Right.
So that's important. What's the best part of being married?
I have not been married very long, believe it or not. We've been together 20 years. We've only been married 2. For me, the best part of being married is just knowing that she's my wife. For me, knowing that, through thick and through thin, healthy or sick, up and down, rich or poor, as all of those vows that we took said, that she's the one that I get to do that with.
And so for you, Teresa, like you said earlier, you went from being a loner to now you have someone that always has your back.
Absolutely.
Now, in the LGBT plus community, we have a lot of labels. We also have some gender roles. How do you handle, or how do you feel about gender roles?
We don't have roles in our relationship.
We don't. It's never even been a part of a conversation for us. There are things that I do, like around the house or outside or whatever, that she probably would not do, that you would think more of a man would do or something. I will, change something in the house or fix something or tinker with something. Yeah, she's a delicate flower.
Yes, I am.
Any of that.
But
any of that. I'll cut the grass.
Yeah, we'll cut the grass. We take care of our house and our home and our family the best way that we know how. And when we do need somebody else to come do something, we'll get that person.
Okay.
Usually Cheryl can do mostly everything, though. She really can.
Yeah,
Wow.
I can do a lot.
Rarely ever do we have to hire anybody to come in to do
But you find
stuff.
a balance of what
Right. You
works.
have to have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have that balance.
Right. I mean, I cook, she cooks, she cleans mostly. I clean. We raise the children together. We do all of these things together. No gender specific type role. Not knocking anybody who does have that. That's just not in our relationship.
Well, you're obviously both cleaning, because you guys can't see this house, but it is immaculate. It looks like a show house. I can't even find a speck of dust in here. It is amazing.
We knew you were coming over today, so we wanted to make sure we did like some
No,
extra
I don't-
cleaning
no,
today.
I don't think
but we
so.
knew you were coming.
No, there's no dust anywhere. Yeah.
Right? Did we know she was
I'm
coming?
sure there's some dust somewhere.
I can't see it. So you guys
Good.
are both doing a great job together.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I respect that. Now, all relationships have ups and downs, and after 20 years, you two have found a way to make it work. But so you're obviously doing something very right. But what's something that could have broken the two of you and you could have just given up and walked away from it all?
I would love to answer that.
Answer that.
When I first met Cheryl had small kids. And myself, my son was 16 years old at the time, so he was well on his way out the house. And so into the relationship, she brought some small kids, and that was a very big adjustment for me because I had to not only deal with the kids, but their father. And so that was a very big challenge for me, and I would get very frustrated. However, I continued to stay in the relationship because I loved Cheryl. And so we talk about it and we work things out together.
I mean, I agree. That was a tough time. It was a tough time for me because I was in a situation that I was not familiar with and had not experienced and was not really prepared for. So I had a lot of emotional ups and downs. I was a lot to deal with just myself.
Lord, yes.
Let alone the kids that I brought. I had to figure out who I was and everything, and still trying to build a new relationship that I was sort of clueless about. And to be honest, a lot of that could have really broken us up. I thank God, really, because I know it was God who put Teresa in my life and helped me to grow up, to gain some backbone, to be a mother, be a partner, be a person of character, to be a friend. All of those things that I wasn't because I was so broken at the time when I met Teresa. I didn't realize that I was broken, but I was. And she dealt with that. And honestly, now I'm thinking about it now, even 20 years later, I didn't even ask her what was going on in her life. Because at the time, it was really just all about what was going on in my life.
You had so much going on.
It was just all about what was going on in my life.
I carried all of that weight.
In order for you to even carry that, you had to see some real value.
Right.
You were able to see beyond tomorrow and just see the long-term goal.
Absolutely.
Wow, that is amazing. Again, 20 years strong. Man, that's a blessing.
Woo! It's a blessing.
What do you want to say to society about how they view lesbian relationships and just the LGBT plus community in general?
I would say love who you love. Be who you are. We are a prime example that you can still serve the Lord, you can still worship the Lord, you can still raise a family. Between the two of us, we have 5 kids, one still in the house, but the other ones who are grown, they are self-sufficient, they are some married, they've graduated college, working on their own in their own places, buying their own cars, all of those things that you want your kids to do. And in spite of everything that we may have had going on as the parents in their lives, we raised a good stock of kids and still are raising, because our youngest is 8.
Wow.
And
yes.
But we have a beautiful home. We live a normal life. I go to work. Teresa's retired, and we do what everybody else does. And
still work, I just don't get paid.
Right. Yeah, you
I think people need to know that love who you want to love. It's always going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be bumps in the road. Everything is not going to be a bowl of cherries with cream and all that stuff, but it's going to be an enjoyable ride.
Let me chime in and say this. First of all, you have to learn to love yourself first. Okay, and someone else can only add to that, but you have to be happy with who you are first.
That's
Definitely,
true.
definitely. And that's why I wanted to have these open discussions. Definitely love is at the center of it all. Love yourself, love your family, and love the community.
Right.
And so I just want to thank you both for spending time today on Lesbian Love.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Thank you so much. You guys brought 20 years worth of experiences and wisdom and insight, and so I just thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
See you next time.
Thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you again right here next time on Lesbian Love.